back. So I will invite our next guest, Diedre James, and we're talking about weight loss, resilience, general health, mindset, wellness. And there she is. What's up, Diedre?
Not much. How are you?
I'm doing real good. I'm just hanging out, and I'm excited to talk today.
Yeah.
Know we've been planning this for a minute, and I was reading through your story and just kept getting more and more impressed. So, so I guess I
Oh,
just
you're
want to do
breaking
some
up
of
a
the
little bit.
overview. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of give the overview of like just hearing about how somebody lost 175 pounds. Just absolutely, I'm sure you've heard this plenty of times, just straight inspiration, very, very motivational. And coming from somebody, I've been obese twice in my life, and particularly during the developmental years, middle school shout out, very, very brutal. And you told me you also quit smoking, and that was something I didn't see coming, but I know it's one of the hardest things to kick too. So sounds like you're all over the kind of mastering your game and busting through these things, huh?
Yeah, trying to. And you spoke about like the developmental stages, and those developmental stages, in my opinion, can happen at different stages of life with different people. I mean,
Mhm.
so many different variables can affect that, but yeah, that stage is hard.
Okay, so
Neurological response to food and to
mm,
all of that, and then also trying to quit or do better. I'm sure you know a lot about that doing what you do, but
I mean, from personal experience, and that's the most powerful thing. What I really wanted to share with the good people. So just really, just as I guess I should frame the conversation. Yeah, just be a simple, open-ended questions about, where you started, what practices, were most beneficial to you, and ultimately just trying to provide some hope to the people, watching, and some good advice that they can actually follow to get there. So. I'll just guess we'll start from the beginning. How did your journey start?
well, I was having trouble breathing at night because I was so heavy. Was little things that had drove me to seek a surgeon and bypass surgery. So I went through the program at Wake Forest Health, Baptist Health, to get made it all the way to the end, and I lost my health insurance right
Mm,
before. Now I look at it, and it was through that operation, and
mm,
some type of help, and that field. But I had learned things from nutritionist, psychologist through the program app, and I just didn't give up there. So I was
mm.
down. Of course, I picked myself back up and was like, I've already lost some weight doing little things they've told me, so I'm going to stick with that. And that was the start. Is just starting to change little things at a time and sticking with them long enough to see whether they affected me or not. I think a lot of
Mm,
times people long enough chance
mm,
or
mm.
and the little things go a long way.
Okay. So
So
yeah, I just want to clarify. So you said you didn't get the surgery?
no,
Wow. Wow. Okay.
right before we were scheduled it. So
Okay.
the program prior to any bypass surgery, you have to see a psychologist, you have a nutritionist, should have went in more detail. Um, about nutrition and food and how to eat. So they make sure that you're strong enough to be able to go through with that procedure. So I did that, graduated from the program,
Oh,
and
yeah.
lost insurance right as we were scheduling. So I never ended up getting the surgery.
Wow. So yeah, that's powerful. So yeah, it seems like those initial small things, and that you ended up taking a lot of pride in and running with. So how old were you when all this started happening?
26.
So 26, okay.
And
And
my,
how,
go ahead.
yeah, I said, so how long did it take for you to go through that massive transformation?
I'd say the majority of it, probably like came off in the first year. And then gradually over time, more came off because I became more educated over time too. So I learned what worked and didn't work for me.
Right.
But
Um,
like the little things, especially when it comes to like nutrition and dieting, like if I went out to eat with friends and I wanted fried chicken tenders, then I would have broccoli with that because I didn't want to have more than one thing fried on my plate. So I would never have like French fries and fried chicken tenders at the same time.
right.
If I wanted fries, I'd get grilled chicken, just trying to balance things out. And, so I still get a little bit of what I want. And I'm not really depriving myself, but I saved a lot by doing that.
Yeah, those very small steps are, honestly, are the most powerful, I would say, because those become more like manageable in our lifestyle. And I've seen a lot of people get almost like abused. So like, pretty much you're not allowed to eat anything, and you get
Yeah.
terrible, boiled vegetables and water. And that's all you get on a diet program. It's not gonna, it's not, it'll work if
Yeah.
you can stay adherent to it, but nobody stays adherent to it because
Yeah.
it sucks. Okay. So what led to you having a kind of a skewed relationship with food?
Honestly, I think that my mom did. And,
Mm,
maybe I got a little bit of that from her. Growing up as an overweight kid in the South, I don't think she ever intended to feed me or anything like that. Just nutrition wasn't known. I mean, I had grits and sausage with butter everywhere for
wow.
breakfast, like a typical thing you ate. But over the years, my mom got educated as well. But my mom struggled with eating disorders in her early 20s. She battled with that, and I was bullied as a kid. I don't know. It was the one thing that I could get comfort from. So I just didn't properly know how to handle anything. I don't just
Mm,
bullied at school. How do I
right.
get, you know, or, it's normal for parents to be like, oh, here's a sucker, make it,
Right.
or using food as a crutch to please or make their children happy, give them something to enjoy, but it develops into long-term bad habits.
Right. So you were seeking comfort by the food, and because that's kind of what was taught to you. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you're crying. Here's a
in a
lollipop.
sense.
Yeah. So that's part. Yeah, it's part of the underlying issue. So, well, I'm glad that you eventually came to that realization, and I know we have to revisit some tough times, but the being obese in middle school, high school is a tough go. And especially during those developmental years when we are creating our confidence and starting to, really try to identify who we are as people. And then somebody picks out the worst part about you and then just calls you that. So like,
You're obese, your quote unquote problem is out for the world to see. Your
yeah,
The world can see it, where a lot of other people's with different things they can hide it.
mm,
That So learning how to at the developmental years of like developing healthy self images and things like that. That's a rough time.
yeah. Like I said, my nickname was Wiggles because I wiggled when I walked, and that was just my name. Yeah.
I became a mean person because I put walls up and just was like, I don't want anybody to mess with me. So nobody mess with me. By high school, nobody was going to say anything to me because
Because
I'm
you're me.
so strong. But then I started getting told, you're resting bitch or something like that. Excuse my
Right.
French. But I didn't take that as a compliment. So, that was one of the things that when I changed how I ate, I changed how I thought. Like, I want to portray myself as a mean or hard person because I love and I want to spread my love to everybody and help people. So that's not, and that helped me a lot too, just trying to be a more positive person and kind of let some of that go.
I mean, I'm glad that it's just the general mindset and wellness things often lead to the most benefit the fastest. Like, And people get frustrated with that because they always want like a singular answer to why they're struggling with weight, why they're struggling with addiction, or the relationships in their life. But really a lot of the time it's you're eating because you're seeking comfort, and you are uncomfortable with life because you're in general a negative person. That's where I was at.
I know you froze.
Yeah, I'll repeat the last part. I said, so like the general statements, like be more positive or be more appreciative, have the most impact because, I'm struggling, or people struggle with addiction because they're uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable because the lens that they view their life in is negative, or this potentially is a reason for it. So something as general, and people hate that. It's just a general, like, blanket term. I was like, yeah, because you have a blanket problem, you know, you know. So yeah, what practices helped you the most on the beginning of your journey?
I would say resilience and self-discipline. I know people hear that a lot. You're like, I make deals with myself all the time. Like, I'd be like, I have to go walk for 30 minutes before I can come inside and watch crime shows.
Right.
And little things like that, just keeping my promises to myself. And then the resilience, messed up, I tried again tomorrow. I didn't,
Right.
like, I messed it up. Done has been in vain, and just trying again. And if I messed up 7 days last week and only messed up 6 days this week, I'm still improving. It may not be at the rate most people see, but that's why it's called a journey.
Right.
A journey, because it's not just a sprint, get there quick. The success comes in making in the long term.
So it sounds like you were able to, because resilience is something that people struggle with. It sounds like your key to resilience was appreciating even the smallest of improvements.
Yeah.
Was better than, reverting, or sometimes even just not losing is winning. And I've been there before. And I was like, look, man, this is right now, we just got to survive and get through. So I think one thing that would benefit the people is like, what is your definition of resilience, and how do you go about it?
Just keep trying, and that's it. And giving, like, keep break too, knowing that it's gonna be time where things are a little bit harder and you may not be able to do them at full speed like you want to, or you feel like you should have done. Keep going. You go to work,
Right. I think
because there's benefit. You're getting paid. And a lot of times, especially in the beginning, it's hard to make it to that point where you get to see the benefit. Like I always say, is like, you can just give something 30 days. That's long enough period to know whether it's made any type of change, whether negative or positive. For the longest time when I got started, I felt like I didn't see any change, like in my body. I saw it on the scale, but I didn't see it. And it's like, I just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm 10 pounds, 10 inches smaller in my waist, or,
yeah. So the incremental changes are very big. So whenever we first start off, like, because it's just at the beginning, it's just brutal. It's like it's going to hurt the most, and you're going to get the least, and your mindset is also the worst. and going out, and I remember being young, like trying to start like a fitness journey or trying to lose weight, and like I would make it like an hour before I just like gave up, and then went to my only coping skill was eating. So that was very difficult for me to bust out of that because there was nowhere else to go. And for anybody struggling with, addiction or issues with overeating or something that's unhealthy, that's plugging the hole, I don't even ask them. Well, I do ask them, is like, how is that serving you ultimately? What is that food doing for the person? Because so often in like mental health, we're like, we got to get the things away from them. We got to get the drugs away from them. But those drugs are serving a purpose in that person's life. So is that food, is helping they're feeling uncomfortable. So it's filling in that hole. So if we don't have something else to plug that hole or fill that void, now this person is just like suffering, and that's probably worse, you know?
And a lot of times that can lead to like addiction transfers too, where you one to another because you tried to plug one with another. So like I started smoking, you know, and gross. I just like I had always been so against it, and somehow or another ended up doing that as well. So, and I ended up quitting that too, but it's just easy to do that, to sub out one issue with another.
Is that what you had did?
No, I think towards that wasn't what I did in that situation. No, but I had it with prior situations. I had smoked pretty much my entire 20s. I was just I went through so many different times of just like my self-esteem was so low. I was, you know, just doing things, hanging around people that I shouldn't, nothing kind of positive influence area. So it was easy for me to take on those. So I had to shed those as well. Which, like you said, getting started is the hardest part. And
what are some key things that helped you stay consistent in those beginning stages?
I was so miserable that
Right. That'll do it.
I noticed like the little changes I did notice things like when I walked each day, my back didn't hurt as bad. Now that it was just, you know, I was getting more blood flow and to my muscles and everything that needed support at that time. It was, of course, releasing endorphins and things that were making me feel more positive. So then the days that I didn't do it, I was like, this isn't as good. This isn't as fun. I want to, you know. But learning how to face challenges too in my life and not just throwing in the towel really quickly and running. I spent a lot of time talking myself in and out of things. There was literally a time that I drove 30 minutes, talked myself out of getting French fries. But
Right.
just get a fry. And then I accidentally passed next and I was like, well, I'm not around now. I'm going to be backtracking. Oh, well, I can stop at McDonald's and get a small fry. Okay, that'll be fine. I was like, Diedre, you don't need fries. Keep driving down the road. And it's like everything about their fries. But I never stopped and got them. And I was really proud of myself.
Yeah, well, it's huge. It's huge. You know, those little wins are made, and those still have to this day. But I still have those conversations with myself where I was at Chipotle today, and she was like, it was like, you want queso on there? And I was like,
of course I do.
No, I don't. I do. I mean, I do, but I don't. You know, I said, I got goals. I got long-term goals. You know, and I know for a fact, you know, this is one of the things that I want to add for the initial stages for people is this thing called objective reality, which means like you remove yourself from the situation and you just look at it as though you're like a scientist and be like, you know, you just look at it and be like, if I removed all of my emotions from the situation, all of my feelings about it, then I know for a fact that if I adhere to these principles by science and by sheer observation of other people, that I will lose weight, I will do better, and I will be happier. This is confronting the denial. The denial.
You can commit to the change. Got to. It's like AA, the first steps.
Yep.
I'm like, it's true. I have to have a little bit of self-realization. Like these things are not way. High blood pressure, high cholesterol. I am like, that is totally negatively impacting my body. And it's telling me you're doing something I don't like. And when you're in that situation and you live that for so long, it's normal. So you almost don't know how bad you feel. You feel better. And I know that's how it was for me because I was big my entire life. I've been healthy and, you know, smaller, less time than I was large. I spent more time taking things that I should have been on, you know, and things that just to control my body's response to what I was doing to it.
There's definitely a lot of definitely a lot of power in setting that initial goal, like as small and as simple and easy as it may be, just to, I call it proving the process, and doing that test where it's like, okay, I'm gonna lose at least 5 pounds, which means if I'm gonna be realistic, it's gonna take at least 2 weeks. Like if on a fast pace, it's gonna take 2 weeks. And then starting off with those very, very small things. And then once you have because initially just even a sliver of confidence is what we need. Just a taste of a taste that we can do it. And this is what I've noticed with a lot of the people that I work with is like, they don't even have the confidence to even start something. And
That,
that's what breaks my heart so much, because it's very rarely done from a position of, oh, I want to be better. It's done from a position of, I want to be less bad. And it's done from frustration versus being done out of love.
mm-hmm.
And can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I told
Frustration.
and God at night for the determination to be able to do this, to like lose weight, because I was just so miserable. I felt like I was in such a black hole, and I did. And I'm a Christian in God fully, and think that He had a large part to do with me and my journey. I think He was teaching me some really great lessons for my life and how I'm going to help others. I could have never learned if I wasn't in the situation that I
For
was.
sure.
But believing in yourself enough just to give yourself a little chance. It's if you get up and walk, if you can walk from here to the back, you can start.
Right.
And also, don't try to move mountains overnight. Don't flip flop everything you do on a daily basis or love. I think that's a big no in any big change like that, when I'm going to do keto or whatever and not eat this anymore, and just cut out so much things that you loved. You're going to feel deprived, and you're going to feel punished. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be enjoyable, and it's or confidence. So allowing yourself some balance and some grace period to
Right.
give yourself a little bit of a
Okay. Yeah. So the initial belief, I think, is something that would be very good for people to really think about. And this goes back to objective reality for me, because it's been so beneficial. Is you have the potential of one whole person, and we have a negative view of ourselves, so we think that we don't have the potential to do anything. That is a delusion. That is how you feel about it. That is not what it really is.
yeah.
So your muscles are dependent on a caloric input and output. So if you get up and walk to that bathroom and you do that 100 times, that's going to burn something that is going to lead to results. And you have to believe in that process. You have to believe that your actions have outcomes. And I think one of the quickest ways for people who really struggle to think about this and to appreciate it is, oh, it couldn't get any worse. I'm like, what are 3 things you could do right now to make your situation worse? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, your actions led to outcomes, didn't they? But they're very slow to list 3 things to make their lives better. So we kind of have to create, or what I do is like help people, appreciate action and result. Is that, and it's easier to see in that negative frame because these people are framed negatively. So then you take that and then you just turn it back on them and be like, dang, there's your potential. Yeah.
I never was like, I'm going to lose 175 pounds. I'm like, that was not that I started with. I was feeling how you're describing. And I did learn how to appreciate the little wins, and also just observe other people in this world and realize like people have done far more with far less. And I'm human just like they are.
Right. And this is the power of other people's stories. And that's why, why I wanted to share yours with, the people on, my page as well, is because Oklahoma is one of the most, that's where, a lot of my followers are, and where I am is one of the most obese states that there is. Pretty much everywhere in the South is pretty rough. So they need to see it happen in real life. Like, because like looking at you, no one would really believe that you had been to those mental places, or that you struggled or lost 175 pounds. It's hard to believe, but hearing your story, talking about how you shifted from, utilizing food for comfort, and then almost like essentially feel like you're going to die because of it, and doing things out of frustration that ultimately turn to resilience, faith, and patience, and just this beautiful attitude you have. It's so empowering for people. And one of the reasons I feel so compelled to share my message too, which was like, more of the mental health issues, once you get those things figured out, it's like, oh my God, like I have to tell people about this so they can get out of here.
Definitely agree with that, because again, it's like one of those things, you don't know how miserable you are until you're out of it. And it's like, let's be real. But yeah, being on the other side of it and like how much has changed, the appreciation level. And of course, like I talk about my appreciation with God, but those who don't believe in God, just find appreciation, period, no matter where you refer to. But I remember, so I had one round of skin removal surgeries. This is the first time I ever spoke about that but that was extremely hard, just psychologically, physically. That was worse than the weight loss.
In what ways?
The pain was just excruciating. I wasn't able to work out or do my normal day-to-day. It provided me that new regulatory system comfort, like just being mentally healthy, and things that I did to keep that on track, like walking or going to the gym, or sitting, all sorts of things. But that also messed with you mentally. And people I'd heard talk about lots of weight, that you can go through spikes of depression and anxiety, and obviously body image issues. And I was like, no way. I remember I bought this little dress, and in the dressing room, I thought I was fabulous. I thought I was Beyonce. And I come home, I actually go to wear it out one day. I wanted to cover up. I felt like, and it wasn't a, skimpy dress. It was just a normal little dress, but it years to wear that dress. People felt like my body and high, and I had to work through that too. And that was something I never happened, that after I weight, that I would still feel uncomfortable. And
right. So
after the surgery, and not having, that is weird, because you're used to it being there. So it's, your brain almost doesn't register that the extra skin's not still there.
Yeah, that's kind of, because there's a bunch of like, I never thought about that. There are a bunch of like neurons and nerve endings, and like you're literally cutting away a piece of yourself. Oh, I have to look into that more.
Talked about a lot. I've talked to people that when we talk about it, and they've been through, yeah, I definitely went through that too. But on a lot of social media accounts and things like that, I don't hear people talking about that aspect. Very real struggle. There's just so many different things to it, but I wouldn't trade it because like feeling like I do now, comparison to 6 to 10 years ago, is just unbelievable to me still.
So I'm happy to hear that. And one thing I wanted to talk about also is like, how do you stay patient? You said it's a 6 to 10 year process, really, to go the physical and then the mental health on top of that. So like, how do you stay patient with all of that?
I guess because in the beginning, I didn't realize that it would include all of this. So adjustments along the way that I felt benefited me, and some were very much trial and error. But that's just growth, is trying different, see it if they work, and then the things that work, you kind of put that in your toolkit, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna keep this one. just like a healthy recipe. You try you like and some you don't. You like the one, you throw it in your kit. You just keep adding that data, and over time, you've got a full toolkit to just do life. There's always going to be something new, but again, that's growth, and I think we grow until the day we die. So, new to learn, a new emotion to handle or situation, but that toolkit, that's where that comes in handy, is, not to go down the bad roads so quickly.
So this is something that I actually, work with people too, that I hear you did a very good job of, is that it seems like you started to identify with the process of getting better, like appreciating that there are going to be failures, but that's good because those failures are going to teach you a lesson of what not to do, so that you can reorient and start doing or finding something better again. And instead of being sold on the outcome, like, I'm not going to be happy until I lose the 175 pounds. You didn't do that. You were like, if I can find a good meal that tastes good, that is healthy, like, that's a huge win. That's a huge win. If I lose a pound.
To like cook things and give it to people that are so unexpected, and then tell them that's like the healthiest thing you could have put in your mouth all day, and surprise them, and they love it.
Right.
That's a new passion that I have from that. But yeah, doing that step by step and is super important. I just try to always do that. You can't build, wasn't built in a night. It's not Amazon Prime. It's not going to be here. Just keep yourself a chance and keep trying again, and you'll see results. And just trying to make better decisions on a daily basis for yourself, and things like, say, even like a lot of times they don't want to do, and whether it's going out with their friends or something for work, or feeling obligated to things, and then that can cause them and then want to turn to things like, or whatever, to be like, well, I've had a long day this time, I'm gonna get a piece of chocolate cake. That's that they're dealing with or being overwhelmed and not knowing how to do. I know, like, death, for example, for me was really hard in the early 20s. I had a lot of people close to me pass away. I had a woman like my mom pass away, and it just really wrecked me. I didn't know how to handle that. And again, there was grief counseling there necessarily, and just not knowing how to deal with those emotions and death and everything around it. So I know I turned in that situation. That's where a lot of my weight gain really started. But, a year ago, I lost my grandpa, who was one of my most, influential people in my life. I loved him so dearly. And I always knew that I was like, that one's going to wreck me. That the one that sends me into a tailspin. And I can say a year later that I've handled it really well. I've definitely but learned to snap myself out of it a lot quicker than maybe I would have 10 years ago. And just knowing the little things that I could do on a daily basis to help keep my mental health strong, like going, and people are like, go walk out. That saying has more reason into it than a lot of people think. Right.
Yeah, we often figure out that these cliches, they're most powerful whenever we need them the most. And it goes to be said that there is a driving force to getting our shit together. For instance, like 10 years ago, you not being able to handle the death of your mother, and instead of you being like strong and handling that situation well, you kind of reverted to old tactics. If anything, you kind of made the world a little bit worse of a place. But here we are 10 years later, after you answered the calling and you created this version of yourself that's so strong. Now you are able to stand through that process, humbly and strong, and other people, see that and can respect that. And it's so much more powerful than, just not paying attention, just being timid and afraid and letting life beat you up. And being consistent with the process can get us through literally anything, as long as we have that faith you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
commend you for that. That's huge.
Thanks. It's huge what you've done too. I mean, breaking any bad habit that just isn't healthy for you, like you said, whether it's relationship, addiction, or being obese, it's a powerful thing to be able to see that change in your life. And I often reference like that I've lived two lives. Like that life was versus the one I have now. I truly have a second chance. And I know that again sounds so cliche. I feel everything in my and I'm so thankful for the time that I spent like that too, because it taught me so much and it drove me in my line of sight for my purpose. I really help people that have been affected by trauma or could be harmed in any way. Protect people. I want to help people because I don't want people to go through unnecessary misery that sometimes we cause on ourselves.
That's very, very, very powerful. And one thing I definitely want to talk about is like it sounds like you wouldn't take back what happened to you.
Mm-mm. No,
Wow.
I wouldn't. And there's times that I really struggle with saying that. And then there's days where I'm like, no, because what would my life, like, I just can't imagine what type of person I would be, what path I would be. Of course, there's things I wish that I could do different at times. But when I look at the big picture and see how everything's came together so far already and molded me as a person, yeah,
Mm. So that's huge. That's huge out there for the people watching. Is that the thing that was, the worst that had ever happened to you is now something that gave you your greatest strength.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So have faith out there. The things that you think that you hate and that you think are the worst parts about you will, at the end of the day, will be the most powerful aspects of your story. And I can say the same was true for my life, where I had to address a lot of the things going on in my life. And whenever I sat down and truly thought about it, and I said, "Hey, Benjamin, if you removed all these these things that had happened to you, these traumas, and you could take them all away, and you would go back to being essentially a sheep that just didn't ask any questions, would you do that to be normal?"
Yeah.
And that was like that didn't take, it was like that. It was all gone. I said, hell no. Like, absolutely not. Like, and then at that point, at that moment in time, I became grateful and thankful for these, things that had happened to me. And I appreciated my pains and my sufferings. And I was like, oh, they made me me. Like, if anything, I need more of those so I can be more me, you know?
As empathetic as I am. And I love that about myself. And because I know how it feels to be treated like dirt, you know,
Mm,
like dirt, sometimes, and I can do that to someone else. And I want to help other people just not feel like that.
mm,
Protective over, there just being more good in the world because we need that. And that negativeness is so contagious and it's everywhere and people to beware of it, to stay positive, to have a little bit of like we talked about because it's really easy to get sucked into all that. You know, it's up to us to kind of pass more of the positive along, more of the work, so people don't have to fall into that. Have a choice, not a sheep, and the tools maybe hand
mm.
of having to go and get it themselves.
Absolutely. And I very much appreciate your willingness to have these conversations because, I mean, you have to be, I'm just going to be honest, you have to be a confident, open, and intelligent, mindful, intentional person to be willing to share your greatest pain, your greatest pains and sufferings and your mental health going through it. Like that, the willingness to present that to people demonstrates your empathy, where you're willing to sacrifice how you feel about it. You're willing to sacrifice your ego and admit that you were wrong in your dealings simply because you want to help other people come to that realization and knowing that that's the only way they're going to get there.
Uh,
uh,
Help save somebody a couple steps. That great, you know.
right, right.
shorten this process for you, because for me it was that trial and and falling a little bit and stumbling, get back up, falling and stumbling a little bit and getting back up. So yeah, I want to share that with anybody who wants to hear it. I'll tell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to spare some people, and I always lead with, I'm essentially talking to me in the past. Like, that's who I try to help the most, because that's who I'm going to resonate with the most and that will appreciate. Because I just remember being young and just wishing that there was somebody out there that could like provide me the answers to the problems I was having, and it just didn't seem to be found until one point in time in my life where I was like, all right, well, if no one's going to do it, I'll do it. And that was a life-changing moment into leadership and having these conversations.
And that's great. And I think in like our parents' generation, back to access type of information wasn't there. Mad at my mom for reporting. No, she didn't. She was feeding her child, didn't know the nutritional content in it, or wasn't thinking about things like that. But the information just wasn't available. So it's so easy for us to do something like this, and it hopefully reach a lot of people and everybody connect with it. I know I'm also a little scatterbrained, so I probably jumped around a little bit, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to DM. We got the answer.
No, you did absolutely great, Diedre, and I really appreciate you, coming on. And I guess I want to know, like, where's how are you planning on doing this more in the future so people can find you?
I've been putting some thought into doing Instagram page just with positive affirmation, telling more about my journey, inspiring other people or advice that can help get people started. It's, if I thought that people would really listen, and I think for a long time I thought, I don't know, and I'm busy, but I definitely want to, because again, it kind of goes back to my purpose and I want to go, and using social media to do that is a good thing. So
Yeah,
look
one of
up
my
fitness, God knows what page.
hey, just share all the love, do it all. Effort and passion are free.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we're coming up on the 45-minute mark, but thank you once again. Thank you so much for all the words that you provided, and I'll try to share this as much as possible. I'll put it on, my feed and get it out there, because I think it'll really benefit a lot of people that were on the up and coming, and a lot of people have the same problem, believe it or not, growing up a little bit overweight or struggling with, addiction, obesity. So, if even this message only hit one pair of ears, I would be very happy, and it hit mine, Diedre. So thank you so much. All right. Have a great night.
You too.